8:37, Big 550 KTR. I was going to talk a little Blues hockey with Andy Strickland in a couple of minutes as MoDOT is working to reopen Highway 44, or I should say Highway 141 and 44. The water is receded, but as you can imagine, the mud and the gook and everything else, so it's going to take them a while to clean it up. But they are walking on it. They are getting the crews in there. But it is going to take a little longer for them to clean it up. So hopefully by tomorrow morning it should be open. Right now, though, Brenda Talent joins us, CEO of the Show Me Institute. Good morning, Brenda Talent.
Good morning, McGraw.
What is going on down in Jefferson City, and what are you looking at for this legislative session?
Well, the easy answer is not much.
There's a lot going on. None of the people's business is actually happening.
No, there's a lot of theater going on there, and it's very disappointing. I mean, this is the last week. They have till Friday to get things done. There are a lot of bills that would be very beneficial to the state of Missouri and its citizens, and they're just hanging fire.
So what are you looking at? I mean, what's out there on the line that could or should be done?
Well, two big bills that impact educational choice and would help us reform our educational system are education savings accounts and course access, both of which the governor spoke about in his State of the State address and would make available to children with special needs education savings accounts.
Right.
And for course access across our state would allow students who don't have access to advanced or honors courses would be able to have that access. But those bills are just sitting in the Senate. We also have union reform, public sector union reform, that's sitting over in the Senate. We have a bill that would allow electricians to get statewide certification so that they wouldn't have to comply with each municipality and county.
Right.
That's sitting over in the House. And then we have some criminal justice reform, which just sort of is sitting.
Let's start with this savings accounts. Not that you're an expert on all this, or I'm sure you are on some of this stuff. But what's the savings accounts? What's the idea for that?
The notion of that is that for children who have special needs, it's just like your health savings account.
Right.
There would be money set aside so that the parents could use it for tutoring, special education needs, those types of things, rather than having all the money set aside for public school.
Okay. So this special needs student would then be able to use this money as they see fit for their special needs.
Right, to address their educational requirements.
Seems like a pretty pro-Republican idea, and since Republicans own everything down in Jefferson City, why isn't this flying through the process?
Well, I think that's the question that a lot of people are asking. The Senate has, for lack of a better word, I would say been dysfunctional. There have been a number of filibusters, and although that is a tradition within Missouri, it's not something that you can't eliminate. There in fact is something called the previous question, and so you would think with the leadership in the Senate that they would call the previous question on some of these bills in order to get a vote on them, but they haven't done that.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, they don't just have a majority down there; they've got a supermajority.
They have a supermajority,
and I mean, there's really one party rule in this state.
Well, apparently not. And it's not even that. I mean, there are items here which the voters are very interested in, and so to allow effectively a super minority to stop it consistently over the entire course of the legislative session seems to me to be a question about the leadership. Obviously, again, the filibuster is a tradition. There are times when it's appropriate. There are obviously times that you need to respect that, but there have also been times, particularly during this legislative session, that you would expect someone to say, you know, you're taking advantage of this tradition, and now we're not going to let it become an excuse for us.
So how much of this is, we're watching the sausage being made? Because at the end, there'll be a flurry of bills, everything will get passed, everything will get signed, and so how much of this is us huffing and puffing, but the people in the room will get it done by Friday?
Well, I actually think, McGraw, there's a concern about whether they'll get it over the finish line. One would hope that's the case, although you'd ask yourself, why?
Right.
Why would you behave in this way and get all the negative press that you've been getting for lack of inaction? And it does set up or tee them up for having a number of excuses. we couldn't get this done because,
Right.
and they don't take ownership of over the failure of not having to achieve it.
When you have a governor whose political action committee, run by everybody but him, takes out ads and publishing the cell phone of somebody in the Senate, you can see why things get toxic pretty quickly down there.
Absolutely. And there has to be, well, no one has called me, McGraw, for counseling on how to actually get things done.
We
But,
do. We did. I did.
You can call me, and I'll be glad to give you my advice. Remember what you're paying for, though.
It really is. And I think because of the floods last week, it sort of took people's attention away from what was going down in Jefferson City. That would have been the story of the week of this infighting within the own party.
I agree, McGraw. I think that there are other news items that are sort of filling the space. This last week, let's hope that people are talking about what's not getting done.
The same as accounts, and the other one was the electricians. I would think, I can't imagine anybody who would be against that bill.
It just makes eminent sense. Allow these individuals to pass a statewide license bill,
Right.
although we can argue about that. And that way they don't have to meet all these different requirements from different municipalities.
Well, a thing like that is electricity different in South County than it is in North County?
Not the last time I
Right.
checked.
I mean, it still works the same way. And so if you have to ground a wire in St. Charles, you should also have to ground a wire in Lincoln County.
Exactly. And in fairness, that bill has passed the Senate. It's over in the House. The House has been moving things.
We will wait and watch with patience to see how the leaders in our state handle all of this. Brenda Talent, can we read more about this stuff?
Absolutely. ShowMeInstitute.org. And McGraw, thanks for having me.
Anytime. When we'll ask you, every time we'll call you and ask you what they should do. 8:44 here, Big 550.